What's going on, guys? So today we're going to be looking at passage number 5 from the SAT 17 April 2019 QAS test. And what we're going to be doing today is just going through it real briefly, looking at both of these passages here, and just sort of doing like a quick little outline for you guys and helping you to sort of understand what is the main claim, point out some interesting details before we jump into the answer choices. So let's start off here. I always like to start off with this little blurb up top. This tells us that Passage 1 is from this called Blast in the Past. Passage 2 is adapted from What Caused the 1300-Year Deep Freeze. And then here it tells us that Clovis hunters are widely regarded as among the first people to inhabit North America. So a little bit of background knowledge. We get the titles of the two essays, but honestly, not too much that's really that important for us. So let's keep going. So Passage 1 begins by saying, at this conference here, we're going to have a bunch of scientists, and they're going to be arguing that a comet or asteroid exploded above. Let's actually do this. That a comet or asteroid exploded above or on the northern ice cap about 13,000 years ago, showering debris across the North American continent, whatever, and making temperatures plunge for the next millennium. Okay, so causing temperatures to plunge. So this is the first introduction here. This continues by saying the team argues that its idea explains multiple observations, not only climate cooling and the disappearance of Clovis hunters, but also the simultaneous extinction of the continent's large mammals. So all this is telling us is that there's a group of scientists. They believe that a comet or asteroid exploded above the ice cap 13,000 years ago, caused deep cooling, may have caused the disappearance of the Clovis hunters, and then also the disappearance of large mammals. Then it says not all will be convinced. So here we get this paragraph where they talk about others who don't believe in this impact hypothesis, right? So it says one of the leading hypotheses is that a change in ocean circulation that might have been the cause of what's called the Younger Dryas, which is the cooling period. We can continue from there that there's new evidence, right? So the new evidence comes in the form of geochemical analysis of some layers at these Clovis sites. And basically some features of the layers, say the team, suggest that certain debris formed by an extraterrestrial impact. So basically the new evidence they have is that they're looking at these Clovis sites and they're looking at the sedimentary layers, and they're saying that some of the debris that's in there could have been caused by an extraterrestrial impact. They're finding glass, carbon, and iridium, which is said probably not to have originated on Earth. And then it says, in addition, the rocks contain black layers of carbonized material, which the team says are the remains of wildfires that swept across the continent after the impact. So this is giving the new evidence for why they believed in the impact hypothesis. So they start here by explaining scientists are gathering to argue about the impact hypothesis. This paragraph here is telling us about sort of the alternative views, or the fact that not every scientist is convinced. And this last one is talking about how there's new evidence that supports their theory. So that's this one. Let's jump into passage 2. So passage 2 begins by proponents of the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, like in passage 1. They've claimed different kinds of evidence. Then it goes into the evidence. It says these claims were sharply contested by some specialists in the field, however, right? And then they give a couple reasons why. So this starts by saying, here's why people believe in the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. Here's why people believe that it's not true. Then we get this. Now comes what some researchers consider the strongest attack on the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. So now we're being introduced to kind of new research, which is even a stronger attack or stronger counter evidence for the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. Here what they do is they say that they're looking at these sites, right? And they include sites in which sophisticated stone projectiles called Clovis points, et cetera, et cetera. So the team argues that when the quality and accuracy of the dating, which was based on radiocarbon and other techniques, is examined closely, only 3 of the 29 sites actually fall within the time frame of the Younger Dryas onset. So this is the new evidence, new counter evidence for the impact hypothesis. If you remember from the first time, basically one of their claims is that if you look at these sites, where the Clovis hunters were, basically you find these different sedimentary layers which seem to give evidence for an extraterrestrial impact like a comet or an asteroid. But here in this passage, it's basically saying that this new team says when you look at the timing doesn't line up with what they're trying to predict, right? So then we get down here to this paragraph. The supposed Younger Dryas impact hypothesis fails on both theoretical and empirical grounds. So this is a nice big quote from a scientist. He continues by saying that basically that the popular appeal of the hypothesis is probably due to the way it gives a simple explanation for complex problems. So basically, people they want to believe in this comet or asteroid theory because it's very simple, it's very dramatic, and that's basically it's more interesting than talking about these nuanced explanations, which he talks about here, which is like Clovis hunters running out of stone tools, etc., etc. Then we get down here, but impact proponents appear unmoved by the new study, so they still believe it. We will stand fully behind the impact hypothesis. He gives his explanation why, etc., etc. So this passage too, the way it begins, starts by talking about here's the evidence that people who support the impact hypothesis say. Here's the evidence from people who disagree with it. Here's new evidence about the dating of the sites that was used in passage 1. Then we get down here, sort of an explanation from the scientist about why people want to believe in the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And then we get down here, which basically says that the proponents, the people who believe it, they're still unmoved. They still believe and stand by their position. So that's pretty much these two passages here. I hope that helped a little bit to give you a little bit of context. And now we will jump into the answer choices.